the shopping mall in the bottom, gets me involved, and I put a high diving board at the edge of the roof for potential suicides. Because that edge of roof is going to attract suicides. Lots of Japanese. You put the high diving board out there to distract them and to dismay them, to maybe send them scrambling back. And if they jump anyway, you've got a net they don't know about. And from there, the slogan, the motif for Oath of Fealty was, think of it as evolution in action. The suicide scrawls it on the button before he gets mugged. It winds up as a bumper sticker before you're through. It's not always rationality. Sometimes there is madness. And I need to be able to spot the madness implied by my assumptions.
Alors je voulais juste dire deux mots sur la nouvelle qui est dans le recueil des Utopiales, qui en français s'appelle Carole revient Carole. Est-ce que vous vous en souvenez? Je ne sais pas si on a j'ai le titre en anglais qui sera plus simple, qui s'appelle By Mind Alone.
Not under that title, of course. My title was By Mind Alone. I must say, I'm surprised at that choice. By Mind Alone is not my best story, even about teleportation. I did a string of stories about teleportation, starting with Flash Crowd and running through the alibi machine and the last hurrah of the permanent floating riot club. I think I got that right. Teleportation was something that started with an article. I wrote an article about teleportation and designed the puppeteer stuffing discs for that thing. Published it with the Boston Science Fiction Club, Mitzvahs. When Robert Silverberg wanted to do an anthology of stories about teleportation, he contacted 3 people and wanted novellas. I couldn't get inspired, so eventually I just made a list. Who is it that would be hurt by a teleportation network? And worked from there. The story wrote itself once I had that list.
Voilà, une petite question juste, vous vous souvenez comment vous avez imaginé un petit peu cette nouvelle By Mind Alone?
Yes. I realized that if teleportation keeps to the laws of physics, you dare not teleport out of a speeding car because you'll keep your velocity and smack into a wall or a pavement. This seemed enough of a basis for a short story, and I tried writing it. Took it to the Damon Knight gathering of writers, which happened every year for a while. They'd gather in Milford, Pennsylvania, and criticize each other's work, and try to get some help to them. I brought this story along and hoped to get some criticism that would make it better. Did not get criticism to improve it. Managed to improve it a little myself anyway, and sent it off to be bought, and it was bought eventually. But as I say, I think I've written better teleportation stories, including, of course, the teleportation network in the Ringworld.
Maintenant que ça fait pratiquement 45 ans que vous êtes publié, quel regard vous avez sur votre parcours, et est-ce qu'il y a des romans qui ont un petit peu vos faveurs, que vous préférez dans votre bibliographie?
I like my career. I'm fairly well satisfied with it. As for publishing novels by preference, I don't have a preference either way. Of course I want to write novels because I have ideas that big. but I have little ideas that are better fitted to a short story. I did some really short stories and published them in the Draco Tavern, because they're all set in a bar in Siberia that is visited by aliens. The latest of those just deals with an art show set up in the bar, and aliens at work there.
Alors, il nous reste un petit quart d'heure avec Larry Niven. On va passer aux questions. Est-ce que quelqu'un a une question pour Larry Niven? N'hésitez pas, c'est l'occasion. Ah, oui, devant.
In fact, I can't see their faces because of the light.
Bonjour, merci. Je voulais que vous parliez aussi du troisième bras, qui est une partie qui a été traduite de Non-World et qui pose des questions très intéressantes sur la biologie, sur le clonage et sur l'exploitation de l'être humain.
Do I know this novel?
The Third Arm.
Oh, you called it The Third Arm?
Le troisième bras, The Third Arm.
Yes, it'll be the stories of Gil the Arm, Hamilton. These are detective stories. What would you like to know? Detective stories are hard to write if you write them as science fiction.
C'était l'enjeu pour la science-fiction de la réflexion sur le clonage et sur l'utilisation des parties détachées de l'être humain. Et également des
Yes, I see your problem. Here's the way it is with organ transplants. Cloning has some problems with right and wrong, ethical problems. You'd be raising a creature to become simply spare parts for yourself. On the other hand, transplants also has ethical problems, and maybe they're more severe. We today do a lot of transplants. Getting the transplant organs is the hard part, because not everybody wants to give up his organs. Mostly they don't until they die. Mostly they don't want to die. They'd rather not be on the donor square. So why not use transplants from executed criminals? This works out just fine, except that a government always goes too far. And if we were condemning criminals to die in the organ banks, they could save a dozen lives regardless of how many they'd taken. And if we did the same thing to a guy who ran through too many traffic lights in a year, we'd have the organ bank problem. That was the basis of a series of stories I wrote, particularly the Gil the Arm stories. I don't know what else to tell you. The ethical problems seem obvious to me. It's different ethical problems if you do cloning. If you do cloning, maybe you can raise creatures with no brain and otherwise all of your organs compatible. It's still gruesome, but it might be ethical. That's mostly your decision. I just toss the questions out there.
Georges.